While at Berkeley, a young Carl Sagan wrote a paper titled Direct Contact Among Galactic Civilizations by Relativistic Interstellar Spacecraft. In the paper he wrote, "There is the statistical likelihood that Earth was visited by an advanced extraterrestrial civilization at least once during historical times." On page 497 of his study, Sagan speculates that the number of such visits could be as many as 10,000. Sagan wrote, "There are other legends which deserve serious study in the present context. As one example, we may mention the Babylonian account of the generation of the Sumerian civilization by the Apkallu, representatives of an advanced non-human and possibly extraterrestrial society." 4 years later, in a collaboration with the Ukrainian scientist I.S. Shklovsky titled Intelligent Life in the Universe, Carl Sagan wrote, "Stories like the Oannes legend deserve much more in critical studies than have been performed heretofore, with the possibility of direct contact with an extraterrestrial civilization as one of the many possible explanations." Or could an intervention by an extraterrestrial civilization like the Apkallu explain why, all of a sudden, from out of the blue, in ancient Sumeria, you have civilization springing up, complete with mathematics, complex astronomy, civil engineering?
Who enslaved us? The Sumerians enslaved us. So this tells you that these fallen ones were putting their children on the earth and teaching them stuff to come against us, so they can come against us and enslave us.
Streetscapes, banking, money, a legal system, culture and literature. I mean, that is a major leap forward for Homo sapiens that needs some major explaining. It seems to me that we would make better sense of that leap in the story if we allow for the possibility of an external intervention. And that's exactly what the story of the Apkallu is. And just how curious that the physical descriptions of the Apkallu correlate so closely with the ancient stories of the Mamiwata people. In the United States of America alone, more than 500,000 people go missing every year. In the year 2018, 612,846 new people were registered as missing. Some are cases of misadventure. An unconfirmed number proved to be cases of slavery and sex trafficking. Others are cases of violent crime. Thankfully, the majority of missing persons return, and some are later found. However, approximately 15%, around 90,000 each year, remain unexplained. Year after year, thousands of people go missing just in America's national parks. In fact, the figure is so disturbing that the park authorities are told not to keep a record of them. And I'm not talking about people who wandered off the path and got lost. I'm talking about people who are in the middle of a conversation, in the middle of a baseball game, and all of a sudden, one of them vanishes. Now, we have no mythology or science to account for that. And the horror of those figures ought to disturb us a lot more than having to listen to a report that offends our worldview. So I'm with Monsignor Balducci and John Mack in saying that what they have encountered merits far more serious study than has been given to the phenomenon. One fascinating aspect of the Book of Enoch is that of the extraterrestrial being Uriel, who tutors Enoch with an education in the cosmos. Speaking of humanity's place in the universe, the astronomical...
He's going to tell Enoch, this demon, fallen one will go tell Enoch our place. They got no business telling our place. The Creator already have made our place when he created us. Our place is above them. They were told to bow down to us. So now this demon gonna say, y'all supposed to be worshiping us. And that's where religion came from.
Home of the powerful ones and the workings of the solar system. This motif of advanced knowledge being imparted by people from the stars is a theme that can be found in other indigenous narratives, and sometimes with surprising proofs of their claims.
My interest in cases of abduction is as a student of the world's mythologies, and it grieves me that we so impoverish ourselves by refusing to listen.
Y'all just seen them Hamites doing their dance, because they serve to worship the devil too, and that tells you that in these books.
Listen to the report of people whose experiences don't fit in our boxes. As people become aware of my book Escaping from Eden, I am contacted every single day by people who have had experiences and close encounters, some of them abduction experiences, but they have not told anyone in decades. Often I'll have people say, I experienced this when I was 15 years old, something like that. I have told my wife, I've told the person I was with when I experienced it, and in the 50 years since, I haven't told another living, breathing soul. But I want to tell you because I still need to process what happened to me. That is the effect of the ridicule and shame that we're so ready to visit upon anybody who has an experience that offends our worldview. And I think it's time that that changed. We need to listen to the experience of those around us. And as we do, we will find out there is far more going on in our world than we have ever given credit for. Going on in our world than we have ever given credit for. I think in the West we tend to regard these as psychiatric phenomena, and we probably conceive of it as a post-1950s phenomenon. But that couldn't be further from the truth. It is an ancient phenomenon. It's part of our mythologies. And again, I'd say it's not the kind of story you make up to advantage yourself. You're not going to make money or get promotions from bringing this kind of report. It's something that you know is going to damage your reputation if you share it. And that's why I'm with John Mack and Monsignor Corrado Balducci saying that we need to listen with respect to these reports and understand that it's a different kind of entity we're hearing about, and that this is something that merits serious study. What we're being offered by the Book of Enoch and the Mamiwata tradition is a context for these stories, a wider context and a longer context from cultures all around the world, a context that goes back thousands of years.
Is the theme of advanced knowledge purely fiction? Is it a cover for prehistoric genius, an insight that is purely human? And why does the theme of humans being tutored by higher beings recur so widely among Earth's indigenous cultures? Is it possible that insight into these questions might be gained by listening to the experience of those who have claimed contact with extraterrestrials, including those like the young lady in Anloga, Ghana, who claimed to have lived for 3 years among the Mamiwata people? Might there be a link between their experiences, the legend of Oannes and the Apkallu, and the giant leap forward experienced by humanity in the distant past?
It's intriguing to me that as well as this ancient story of a great leap forward in our evolution as a species being aided by an ET intervention, we also have the report of returnees. I'm one person removed from 2 individuals who returned from their contact with greatly enhanced cognitive abilities. One had a notebook that was just filled with advanced calculus because that was what his mind was full of after his experience, something quite different to how he was previously. Now, they didn't come back boasting, saying, oh, I had this amazing thing happen to me and now I'm a genius. People often don't talk about this aspect of the experience because they don't want to become a case study. They don't want to be incarcerated and probed and prodded to work out what's really going on. There is far more of that kind of experience than is commonly reported. It's curious because it's a form of acquired savant syndrome, and this is a real-world phenomenon studied by credentialed neuroscientists around the world, where a brain injury or a central nervous system event or a trauma will release prodigious cognitive abilities that the person did not have before. And it's often described as a disinhibition of brain functions. Quietly, returnees often report that kind of experience. I note that because it's part of the Mami Water tradition as well. The payoff, one of the promises made to the person who is abducted, is that they will return with a higher intelligence, with higher consciousness. That is part of the package, that this contact with these other beings.
Oh, so in other words, they took part of the tree of what exactly? Which when they talk about that, they talking about the Creator told folks not to take part of what? These devils. Don't deal with these demons. But the Sumerians did it, and then they enslaved us. The Egyptians did it, and they enslaved us. The Hamites did it, they came against us. The white man did it, they came against us. Isn't this funny? All the outside nations did this when the Creator said not to, and they came against us. Okay? Our forefathers, our ancestors failed because some of them fell for the bullshit, and the ones that didn't, everybody else came against them. And then all the bullshit went down. This should be explaining a lot to you already. That's why I said you must do deep research. You're not going to get everything out of all these books. You should buy these books, buy a whole lot of books, but you're still going to have to do deep research. If you're not doing deep research, you should not be teaching.
Is promising. How intriguing that it's part of that narrative too.
The Book of Enoch tells a story that seems foreign to Western ears. With its reference to a non-human population resident on Earth, it appears at odds with the familiar stories of our mainstream religions. But to people like the Dogon tribe of Mali, with their memory of friends from the Sirius star system, or the...
To not take part of that tree means not to gain the knowledge that these fallen ones had. But these fallen ones come on picking up people, kidnapping them in their spaceships, not only forcing them to have babies, but also grabbing even some of our prophets and then teaching them this pseudoscience, bullshit, prejudice, and knowledge when the Creator had told them not to. You see where this is going?
Cherokee people of North America, with their memories of people...
Oh, and there was... I ain't talking about the Cherokee that came against us. There were two different types of Cherokees, so you know. And I'm pretty sure the real Cherokee, the black ones, that wasn't even their real name. Okay, but you got the pale-faced Cherokee Indians that came against us.
From the Pleiades, or people from African and Caribbean cultures familiar with Mami Water.
The Palladians, the fallen demons, the pale-faced, blue-eyed, blonde hair demon that look like human, but they shape-shift. They're vampire-like, and they're also Draco-like.
Many of its themes were strangely familiar. Those who had brought reports of contact with the Mami Water people and other returnees around the world may find comfort knowing that this generation is not the first to claim abduction by a non-human presence on planet Earth. If we can learn to listen with respect to our mythologies and to the stories of those who claim to be contactees and returnees, what new insights might we then gain about humanity's place in the cosmos? The Qumran Caves on the northern shore of the Dead Sea. It was in caves hidden in these Judean mountains that an ancient religious community hid its precious archives of papyrus scrolls and manuscripts. In 1947, a shepherd throwing rocks was surprised by the sound of a breaking pot. When he investigated, he realized he'd stumbled upon an incredible treasure trove of ancient